Hello everybody. It's been a little while since I've posted on YouTube. I think it's been over a week. Let's see, last time I posted where were we? We were sitting at the hotel room. I did the safety check, letting people know about I-70 with the weather and all. So I got down, I left Grand Junction, Colorado. Finished, my truck got fixed. I made the run down to Las Vegas. Dropped that off. I sat there for 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer. And then they repositioned me down to Jurupa Valley, California, which is just east of Los Angeles. I sat there for 2 days, 2.5 days. The first 2 days, they were sending me loads, and it was going to Northern California, Oregon, Utah, Wyoming. Well, that's when all this bad weather was going through there. I wasn't about to drive. Why am I going to drive up to some place that I'm going to have to sit even longer because of weather? Anyways, once it all started clearing out, I got another load and I accepted it and headed on up to Oregon. Beautiful countryside up there. Beautiful countryside. Up through the mountains, passed by Mount Shasta up above Redding. Got up into Portland. You could see all the way across Mount St. Helens out there, all covered in white snow. Looked pretty. Looked pretty. Dropped that load off. Headed to Vancouver, Washington, just across the state line. Picked up a load there, took it back down about 150 miles or so, 130 miles to, where'd we go? What's the name of that place? Let me look at my book here. Damn. No. Toledo, Oregon. I don't know, they're 10, 15 miles from the Pacific coast. I didn't get to see the coastline, but it was pretty neat. So Saturday, this past Saturday, today happens to be, what is today? No. March 18, 2019. It's around 2-ish. 2 o'clock, somewhere around there, I think. Maybe a little after. Let's see. No, it's after. So Pacific time, it's about 2:30. It's about 2:30. So I was picking up a load at Georgia Pacific. This was Saturday morning. When I accepted the load Friday evening, I got a notice on my Qualcomm that said there hasn't been a date yet for delivery. Just go ahead and head to your final destination. So I was working on it. Then a little bit later, Friday evening, I got another notice that said, your unload, a live unload, has been scheduled for 11:30 Tuesday morning, the 19th. I was like, shit. You know, if I'd have known that at the time, I wouldn't have accepted it, because I'd have been, I'm sitting around. I'm having to redo another 34-hour reset sitting here. But anyways, so I picked up this load at Georgia Pacific. According to the paperwork, 43,300 oh no, 43,940 pounds. Okay, 60 more pounds, that's the max. Because then I'd have hit 80,000 pounds. So before, and I had to make sure I scaled it at their facility. So I rolled on their scale. I checked my axles. I made an adjustment on my tandem, and I'm good. So I leave the facility. They have about 15 miles down the road is a weigh station. And the weigh station is unmanned, and it's a single scale, which is good. It's flat, so now I can get a better idea on what the weights are on my steers, on my drive, and on my tandem axles. Well, I was good. Not worried about it. But I still don't have any paperwork to show that I scaled my load. So I headed on down the road, and I was gonna go get off at a truck stop once I got on the interstate and go ahead and scale it. And I said, no, let's just keep pushing to my fuel stop. When I get to my fuel stop, then I'll go ahead and scale it. And that way I'll have the paper copy. So that's what we did. Now, the purpose of this video is to be talking about scaling your loads and fueling your truck. And you need to keep and pay attention to the weight of your truck, the weight of your load, and the weight of diesel fuel when you go to fill up. Because the worst thing you can do is, hey, I scaled it, I'm good, and then go around and fill up with fuel, or get to your next fuel stop and just fill up completely and not keep that in mind about your weights. And then once you filled up, you get down the road and hit a scale and you get fined a hefty fine for being overweight. Now, did it happen to me? Hell no. But I'm going to show you what I did. And so this first piece of paper is the first weight when I pulled in at my fuel stop. And so if y'all can see this, okay, 11,740 for my steer axles, the front, 33,250 for my drive axles, and then 32,500 for the trailer axles. So seeing that, you can say, oh yeah, well, you're fine. You're fine. So, not a big deal, right? You're good. So, diesel fuel weighs 7 pounds for 1 gallon. So if I put 100 gallons, that's 700 pounds. I would be overweight, wouldn't I? My fuel tanks, and it's going to vary on the type of truck that you're driving, but my fuel tanks are underneath my bunk behind me, my sleeping bunk. Some trucks, the fuel tanks are moved forward more. Okay? So with where my tanks are at, most of my weight when I get fuel is going to be going on my drive axles. So if I put 100 gallons in, majority of that weight, that's 700 pounds, I'd be overweight. Now, if you knew there was a long distance before you got to a weigh station, you might be able to get away with it because you'll burn it off as you're driving. So what I did is, let's see what the next one is here. There we go. So what I did is I looked at it. I made a change on my rear tandem. I moved 2 holes forward on my rear tandem, pushed it forward. Each hole is roughly 250 pounds. So I took 500 pounds off of my drives and put it back on my tandems, my trailer. Okay? And this is what I came up with. 11,800 on my steers, 32,900 on the drive, and 3340 on my tandem. I'm still good, right? Sure. Sure. What happened is, the big thing that happened is I went up 60 pounds on my steers. I wasn't thinking about that. So now it's got me thinking, when I get fuel, is it going to put my front end over? My steer axles over? Now I got to figure out how much fuel. A little bit of weight will go to the steers. I do know that. How much actually goes there depends. On majority of my weight, though, is going to go on my drives. So just to kind of give an idea, let's grab a piece of paper here. So this piece of paper, this side over here is my trailer. This side is the steer. And right up in here is where my drive axles are. So I put more weight on the trailer, which caused my trailer to do this. And because my trailer is connected by the 5th wheel, it raises the 5th wheel. It pushes on it just a little bit. And when it's pushing on it, or pushing upwards, because the weight's now doing this, it pushes more weight to my steer. Okay. So now that's got me worried about how much fuel I can put in. So I'm calculating. Now, luckily, I was about 5/8 of a tank. Roughly, maybe 75 gallons. Okay. 60 to 75 is what I was thinking. As I started fueling, I started running it through my head, and you know what? I better play it safe. So I only dropped like 52 gallons in the truck. 53 gallons. Give myself a little bit of a buffer. So it's best to get, And also it's going to depend on your driving conditions and the weather. Okay. But, so I increased the weight on the tandems, which gave me more room on my drives for fuel. It lessened the weight. But now I'm afraid my steers are going to go over. So I went ahead and fueled. And I'm glad I only did that 50 pounds, or that 50 gallons. Because this is what I scaled it again, a third time, just to make sure before I got on the road. And that's what I ended with. My steer axle, 11,920. Okay, so it increased the weight on my steers. It increased the weight on my drive also. But it's something that you have to keep in mind and think about. And again, too, like weather conditions, if you're driving snow. Now, my load, it ended up being, after I fueled, 78,120 pounds, which gave me 180 pounds of fudge room before I would max out. So personally, myself, it was good that I went ahead and moved the tandems the way I did, get some weight to the trailer, hold it down a little bit, gave me room for my drives. I wasn't anticipating the fact, I knew some fuel, but when I made that move, I wasn't anticipating the front steers to make the adjustment the way they did. I knew the mileage and what I was fixing to drive through mountains and things. And so I knew I was going to get down here in 8 hours. And then I'd get this off, so I wouldn't be fueling anymore. But as a driver, those are things you have to keep in mind and consider. It's not just, okay, I scaled it, I'm good, and then you go get fuel and not think about your weights and what you're going to do. I think I talked about this one time in an earlier video. Might have been one of my first few videos when I got my first load coming out of Phoenix. And I went ahead and topped both tanks off before I had a load. And I had that real hard time of scaling. Okay. 8 or 9 tickets before I finally just about got it. I was close. I was over a little bit, but I knew I was going to burn it off in fuel. But I had wasted 3 hours at the truck stop almost, trying to get this handled, or 2.5 hours, something like that. So diesel fuel weighs roughly 7 pounds per gallon. Some drivers I've talked to give a little fudge room, they'll plan anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds per gallon. 10's a little bit on the high side, I think, but they have, from some people I've talked with, drivers. So an interesting fact that people may not consider, not knowing with the driving, the trucking industry. So it's been beautiful weather up here. Been beautiful weather. Beautiful country too. I've posted a lot of pics on my Facebook page to friends and all there. Yeah, I need to go ahead and post some more, maybe try to do some a little bit frequent, but well, I'm going to cut this short because it's already going on 20 minutes. Like, comment, or subscribe, and thank you very much. Be safe.